Core Java, in your technology, Core Java. So what we learn in Core Java and what you understand with Core Java concepts. So what we learn in Core Java and what kind of applications you can develop with Core Java. Standalone applications you can develop, meaning which can be executed within one system. Correct or not? Yes. For example, one of my friend is there in US, so I developed an application. So I want to show my application to my friend, or he wants to access my application. So he can access your Core Java application? No, right? Okay. So here, the next concept in Java, that is Java EE. Java EE means Java Enterprise Application. Okay. Or one more name for this one is, then the people says Advanced Java. Okay. So what kind of applications we can develop with Advanced Java? That is web applications. What kind of applications you can develop? Web applications we can develop in this Advanced Java topics. Okay. So total in this Advanced Java, we'll discuss three topics. We'll discuss. One is JDBC. We'll discuss first of all. Next we'll discuss servlets and JSP. So these three topics we'll discuss in Advanced Java: JDBC, servlets, and JSP. Okay. So before going to start what JDBC and all, so first you have to understand Java EE is termed as Java Enterprise Edition. Okay. So meaning another name is enterprise application, in the sense by using this Java EE we can develop enterprise applications. Enterprise applications in the sense, okay, you know, right? Some people are saying business applications. Enterprise application in the sense which is a solution for a business requirement. Which is a solution for a business requirement. Okay. So here, initially, before going to discuss about what is web technologies and all, so for a few minutes I want to explain how this web applications concept is came into the picture. Okay. So before these web applications, you know what is the difference between a tire and layer? Tire and layer. Tire means what? Come on, boss. You have a subject called networks, network engineering. Data layer. Next. TCP, IP layer. What is all these things? So layer means logical separation is called as layer. Logical separation is called as what? Layer. Physical separation is called as what? Tire. So logical separation is called as layer. Physical separation is called as, let's say, tire. Physical separation is tire and the logical separation is what? Layer. Okay. So I'll explain you how this web technologies concept came into the picture. Before these web technologies, so initially we have a two-tier architecture. Two-tier architecture in the sense, the client and server are only in one system only. There are a client and server. Let us take only one system. In this system only we have some database. Okay, so this is server and this is a database is another system, right? It's a two-tier architecture. Initially it is a two-tier architecture. Let us take, I given one application to this person with two-tier architecture. Let us take. So let us take my application name is, it's a ICICI bank application. It's a two-tier application. Imagine, initially it's a two-tier architecture. Two-tier architecture in the sense, one database server and one machine. Okay. So where your software is available, I mean, you are submitting your entire code to one person, correct or not? You develop an application, and you given that entire application to one person. It's not a normal hello world application, right? It's a bank application, ICICI. Okay, let us take a lot of security information is there in this application. For example, I'm a technical person. You are non-technical. Let us say if he is a technical person, he can change the code and he can modify the code or not. Correct or not? Yes. Okay, so you can change the code and you can modify the code. Once upon a time in the banks, this is a story. If you take 10 years back, in the entire bank, hardly you will find how many systems? Only one system. At cashier, one system. Okay, in manager place, one system. Okay, so here cashier is going to enter some data. At the end of the day, he will copy the data. He will copy the data in a floppy disk. There are no CDs also. Floppy disk. Correct or not? So at that time, if he is not a technical person, there is no any problem. But he is a technical person. We have a problem of security. What is the problem? Security. Because we are submitting our entire business logic. We are giving our entire business logic to the person. So you can modify the code or not? Yes. So this is one problem. Security is one problem, and some other application or some other user cannot interact with this one. Correct or not? So these type of applications you can develop by using Core Java or not? By using Core Java, this type of applications you can develop or not? Yes, you can develop. Okay, because it's a standalone application. You can communicate with the database from your application. So these type of applications you can develop by using Core Java. Right? Okay. The problem is, here we have two problems, the main problems. One is security, the major thing. Second thing is what?
Some other person can't.
So you cannot provide services to other persons. Only one person can access this one. Okay. So if you want to access some other person, if you want to access, in other system we have to develop the same thing. So we have to copy the data from that system to this system. Okay. So this is the problem in this two-tier architecture. What is the problem? Security and
third person.
we don't have any reusability. So that's why. So what are the problems here? The main problem is a security problem. Security. Why it is security problem? Because of we are giving our business logic. We are giving our business logic to the user. Next, the UI logic, the business logic, UI logic, the business logic and the user interface logic, everything is available at this system. So how many persons can access? Only one person can access. Okay. So here, this is which architecture it is? It is a two-tier architecture. It is a two-tier architecture. To avoid this two-tier architecture, the next three-tier architecture. So one more system is came into here. So here, and this is a server. The middle one is what? It's a server, and all these things are what? The client. The client one. Different clients. The server is going to interact with data. Now, one problem is solved. That problem is, previously, what is the problem we are having? Business logic. We are submitting the entire business logic to the user. How we will not submit? Business logic is server on front-end application will develop. Will develop on front-end will interact with the server. Server is going to interact with the database. Okay. So here, this UI logic is moved what? To the client side. Business logic is at what? At server side. So one problem is solved. The business logic is not at the user side. So user cannot change this one. Only we are giving which logic we are giving to the user? UI logic we are giving to the user. Then what about the UI part? User has to install your application. In Java, if you want to develop some forms kind of thing, if you want to develop, we have a concept called Adv and strings. In case of .NET, we have a concept called BC++. Right now, okay. So by using those technologies, you can develop these client applications. You can develop front-end applications. But definitely, user has to install this application. Definitely, user has to install the application. Clients. For example, I have a client, 100 clients was. I have 100 clients. So I'll appoint 2 or 3 persons. I'll appoint. So those persons every day they will go to these users and they will install the applications on it. If they have any problems, they will solve. Let us take Facebook is an application, right? If Facebook is also follows the same thing, then what will happen? How many users are there in Facebook? 100 crores. Shall we take? So here, how many users Facebook has to appoint? How many people Facebook has to appoint? So Facebook people will come to your home. They will install their Facebook application. They have to correct up. Come on, Facebook. We have to install our Facebook application, Gmail application. Next. Other applications. Flipkart application, Medium application. So this is the problem in 3-tier architecture. In 3-tier architecture, what is the main problem? The UI logic is moved to client side. The UI logic is moved to client side, but the problem is at user side, the user has to install the client software. The user has to install what? The client software. Let us take this client software is developed by using Java. So first user has to install which language? Java he has to install, and he has to install the application also. Java plus the application. For example, it is developed by using .NET. User has to install C# and that particular application. Like how many applications we have to install and how many technologies we have to install. Some things they will develop in SAP. Some applications they will develop in Java. Some applications they will develop in PHP. Some applications they will develop in different things. So you have to install n number of technologies and n number of applications you have to install. This is the problem with the 3-tier architecture. One problem is solved, but still one more problem is still remaining. It's difficult to install in each and every machine the client software. It's very difficult. So here, the solution for this one is, what is the main problem? The user has to install one separate technology. If it is developed by using Java programming language, the user has to install Java. Next, what is the next one? One separate application he has to install. So this is the main problem. So how to overcome these two things? So what is the first problem? The user has to install a separate programming language, correct or not? Okay. So why can't we use a one programming language for all the applications? So that programming language is nothing but HTML. What is that language? That is nothing but HTML. So every operating system, when you install an operating system, every operating system supports what? HTML. You don't need to install a separate technology or separate programming language. You don't need to install. What is the second one? For each and every application, we had to install a client-side application or not? Correct or not? We had to install a client-side application. Let us take if Facebook is a client-side application. So if Facebook has to appoint n number of representatives, the duty is they have to go and they have to install the Facebook application. Flipkart people will come and they'll install and they'll go. Like if you have n number of some crores of websites are there. Correct or not? So here it's very difficult to install a separate client-side application. That client-side application, a unique client-side application to execute any type of thing, that is nothing but, what is the next one? Browser. Okay, a HTML and browser concept is came here to provide the services without installing any programming language and without installing any application. Previously, up to this time, it's a 3-layer architecture. When HTML and browser concept is shared, now it is what? It's a web architecture. It's not 3-layer architecture. Now it is what? It is a web. Architecture. So here, only the business logic. So here, these people will make a request to the server. The server will give this UI logic to this browser. Where that HTML file is available, boss. Where that HTML logic is available. Server side only, right? We'll make a request www.google.com. So where that Google page is available. Server side only. Okay. So the UI logic and business logic is also there. Server side only. Can you change this UI logic and business logic? No, you cannot change. The data is secure. You cannot see. Of course, even you can get an HTML file, you can see what UI logic. But what we can do with that UI logic was, the entire data is available in what? Business logic. This business logic we cannot see. So we have a security as well as we can provide services to n number of users without installing any programming language and without installing any client-side application. Because every system, if you have a system, definitely you will get an operating system. Every operating system is having a browser as well as HTML compatibility. So you don't need to install any client-side application as well as client-side programming language. Okay. So now this architecture is called as what? The web architecture. So now this concept is called as what? Web architecture. Previously it's a 3-layer architecture. Now it's not 3-layer architecture. It is a web architecture. So now are you clear how this HTML concept is came into the picture and how the browser concept is came into the picture? Okay. So after all, just I thought you know only HTML means which is used to develop some front-end applications, that's it. But how the HTML concept is came into the picture because of at client side, the client no need, the user side, the user no need to install any programming language and any client side application. That application is nothing but browser. That language is nothing but HTML. This HTML logic is also available at server side. So n number of users can make a request. N number of can make a request to this server. You can access this. UI can access. Okay. So this is the web architecture, and this is not only for Java. This is not only for Java. So here, this is the web architecture. So initially Java is from Sun Microsystems, right? Initially Java from Sun Microsystems. So the first one is the Java Standard Edition. By using the Java Standard Edition, we can develop only desktop applications. There are 2-layer architecture and 3-layer architecture applications you can develop by using Java this. But here it's a web architecture, right? After web architecture came into the picture, Java Sun Microsystems they given one more specification. Java SE is also specification, right? Java SE is termed as what? Java Standard Edition. It's a specification from Sun Microsystems. Sun Microsystems will tell you, boss, I need this. That's it. Meaning, just they will give a structure kind of thing they will provide, that's it. The third party people will come and they will provide the implementation. One of the implementation for Java SE is what? JDK. We discussed already in the first session. One of the implementation for Java SE is what? JDK. Like we have n number of implementations, JRocket, PEA systems. We have n number of third party implementations. So that is for Java SE. For this web architecture, Sun Microsystems is also provided on specification. Because a web architecture came into the picture, we have to develop some language we have to develop for this UI logic and the business logic, not this HTML logic. Okay, what? Business logic and the UI logic, we have to develop some technology. So Java, Sun Microsystems, they specified on specification called Java Enterprise Edition. It's a specification from Sun Microsystems. A few third-party people came into the picture and they provided the implementation for this Java EE specification. Those people are this Tomcat, Next, WebLogic, WebSphere. All these are generally will say servers. Okay, so those people are also the implementations. The implementations for which specification? Java EE specification. Okay, so here I given three things. I given one is JDBC, servlets, and JSP. We'll discuss in advanced Java or Java EE. Finally, our target is only one thing. We had to provide a solution for this web architecture. We had to provide a solution by using Java for this web architecture. Meaning we had to develop some web applications by using the Java programming language. This is the ultimate goal in advanced Java. This is the ultimate goal in advanced Java. Okay. So here, actually it's three logic. One is UI logic, business logic, and one more thing is an integration logic. Integration logic means which is used to communicate with the database servers. What is the third one? Business logic, the UI logic, and third one is the integration logic. So this integration logic which is used to communicate with what? So this integration logic which is used to communicate with the database servers. So what is our final ultimate goal in advanced Java? We had to provide a solution in Java for developing this web applications, web architecture applications. So I given three topics are given, right? What are the three topics? JDBC, servlets, and JSP. So initially we'll start with JDBC. JDBC for this one, for this integration logic. To communicate with the database server, communicate with the database servers. Okay, so we use this JDBC. JDBC is another concept. Okay, so by using JDBC, we can communicate with different database servers. So first we'll discuss JDBC topic. We'll discuss. Then after that we'll see this part. So how to do the business logic and UI logic in Java by using servlets and JSON. Initially we'll start with servlets. We are having few disadvantages with servlets, and then we'll discuss. So first we'll start what? JDBC. Okay. So JDBC is termed as Java Database Connectivity. JDBC is completed, right? Faculty will give the same thing. JDBC they will give is an abstraction between the Java file and different database servers. What is JDBC? JDBC is an abstraction between the Java file and different database servers. JDBC is an abstraction between Java file and different databases, different database servers. So here we are having different database servers. Let us say Oracle is a database server, MySQL, SQL server, DB2 is a database server. We have n number of MySQL. There are n number of database servers out there. There are n number of databases servers out there. So JDBC will provide you a solution how to communicate with the database servers. From your Java application, the JDBC will provide a solution how to communicate with the different database servers. Okay. So in this JDBC, mainly it contains two parts: the core API and the functional API. JDBC contains how many parts? Two parts. The JDBC contains two parts. One is the core API and the functional API. JDBC contains two parts. One is the core API and the functional API. So initially we'll start with the core API. So I told you, right, JDBC will provide you a solution for communicating with the different database servers. So here again in JDBC, again there are four ways to communicate with the database servers. How many ways? Four ways to communicate with the database servers. That is type 1, type 2, type 3 and type 4. There are four. Another name for that one is drivers. Okay, so JDBC is having four drivers or four ways to communicate with the database. So type 1 driver, type 2 driver, type 3 and type 4. Okay, so the first type 1 driver is JDBC. What is a type 1 driver? Confirm, huh? So what is the type 1? JDBC. JDBC, ODBC, bridge driver. Meaning, we have some, I will not draw any diagrams, you will try to understand. Okay. So here, JDBC, which is used to provide the communication between the Java file and different database servers, right? We have different database servers, Oracle, SQL server, MySQL, DB2, we have different database servers. Okay. So there are different database servers and different rules also there. You know what is exactly SQL? Structured query language means how that SQL concept is came into the picture. You know, there are different database servers out there. Okay, for example, I am another programmer. I want to store some data in the database. For example, I am using Oracle database. So I have to understand the complete Oracle architecture. I have to learn the complete Oracle commands and all. Commands are correct or not? Okay. So my 2 months project is completed. In that 2 months project, almost I spent 1 month time for learning this Oracle. After 2 months, my client said, Mahesh, we are migrating from Oracle to MySQL because it's free of cost. For Oracle, they are charging a lot of cost. So again, once again, I had to spend 1 more month for learning MySQL or not? Because I had to understand the rules of MySQL, how to insert the data, how to read the data from MySQL, because that MySQL rules are different. So after 2 months, we'll migrate to SQL Server because we don't have that much features in the MySQL. Then we'll go for SQL Server. And once again, we had to learn. We had to spend 1 more month for learning this SQL Server. There are n number of database servers are there, right? Of course, the people are realized technology is also increased. If you search in the Google which one is the best database, you get n number of answers. I'm talking about 15 years back and 10 years back. Technology is not that much, and the people also not that much experts. They don't know which one is the best one. Okay, there are n number of database servers are there. So if you learning keep on like this, there is no end for this one, right? So one person came into the picture was okay. So this is not at all fake was. We'll follow one standard structure. We'll follow one standard structure. This is for reading the data. This is for writing the data. This is for updating the data. So you can use same commands. SQL means structured query language. Correct or not? So you can use same commands for all the different database servers. For MySQL same, for Oracle same, for DB2 also same, for SQL Server also same commands. Correct or not? That is SQL. So here also, we have some different databases. Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, there are different database servers out there. If you want to communicate with Oracle Server, the Oracle people will give some instructions. Correct or not? If you take SQL Server people will give some instructions. Also, if you want to communicate with MySQL Server, you have to write this logic in your code. We will discuss this ODBC JDBC bridge driver. Before this one, we have a driver called in type 4, I think. What is the type 4 driver? What is the type 4 driver? Native driver or native library, whatever it is. Just keep a word that is native. Meaning, let us say I am communicating with the Oracle database. So if you want to communicate with the Oracle database, Oracle people will tell you, they will give 1,000 pages of instructions they will give. Because if you want to communicate with my database server, you have to use this code in your program. So we need some experts, right, to understand that Oracle format, how to communicate with Oracle and all. The same story was, I integrated the Oracle database server. In my application. In future, I want to change that one. If you want to change, once again, we have to learn. For example, I want to migrate from Oracle to SQL Server. Let us say. Once again, we have to understand how to communicate with the SQL Server. It's not one operation or two operations, right? We have to understand how to insert the data, how to read the data, update the data. We have a number of things out there. You have to understand the entire thing in the particular database. If you are using Oracle, you have to understand the entire Oracle. If you are using SQL Server, you have to understand the entire SQL Server. How many things you have to learn those? In one project, I will get SQL Server. In one project, the client says use MySQL. In one project, the client says use Oracle. Correct or not? So here, this is the problem with native. We need some experts. We need some domain experts in this one. That domain expert is only for that particular project only. Let us say I recruited an Oracle expert. Can I reuse this person in another project? SQL Server? No, right? Okay. So here, we need some domain experts here, and that domain expert is also only for one particular requirement. We cannot reuse those requirements. We cannot reuse that resource. Okay, so this is the main problem in the native. Because only one database, right? There are a number of databases are there. So this is the problem with the native. What is the next driver? Type 2 driver. What is the type 2 driver? Type 2 driver is what? Theme driver. In this thin driver, what this thin driver is saying is, boss, this is the problem in native, right? What is the problem in native?
There are many
Okay, if you want to communicate with my database server, you have to understand a lot of things you have to understand. Okay, so correct or not? So that's why this thin driver is providing, because you are a Java programmer, right? You are a Java programmer. To communicate with this my database server, you don't need to understand anything, boss. I will provide you one library. I will provide one Java library. You don't need to understand my complete database, how to interact with the database and everything. You need to understand this. Directly I will provide one library, I will provide you one Java library. You are a Java programmer, you can understand that one. Correct or not? Yes, you can understand. So these people, the thin driver, they will provide some native libraries they will provide. This OJDBC 14.jar. In case of MySQL also you will get on jar file. What is a jar file? So thin driver in the sense, the database people, they will provide the separate library they will provide. You don't need to understand the internals of that particular database. It's very difficult also. That people directly they are providing a simple API they are providing. Because if you want to communicate, this is a method you have to call. If you want to perform this operation, this is a method you have to call. Okay? So that is a thin driver. So here also we have a problem. What is the problem? Dependency problem is there, right? For example, if I want to communicate with Oracle, I have to understand. At least you have to understand Oracle API, right? The people are providing API, but you have to understand that API. If you want to communicate with SQL Server, you have to understand the SQL Server API. You have to understand. Next, so to avoid this problem, a person is came into the picture called ODBC, Open Database Connectivity. Because you don't need to understand. You don't need to understand the separate APIs. You need to understand a common API for all the database servers. A common API for all the database servers. So from your Java application, you will communicate with ODBC. This ODBC will communicate with the different database servers. For a few days, it is worked fine. Initially, this ODBC came into the picture because this is a programmers. This is a problem the programmers are facing. They have to understand the separate database servers. They have database API they have to understand. So this ODBC came into the picture, and initially it's worked fine. Everyone is agreed. Okay, boss. To avoid the developer problem, so we'll give a common API for all. So ODBC, all these database servers, this Oracle, MySQL server, next MySQL, SQL server, DB2, everyone is given the support for ODBC. From your Java application, will communicate with ODBC. ODBC is going to communicate with the database servers. For a few months, it is okay, fine, boss. Next, the database servers, day by day, they will add some enhancements or not. Correct or not? This ODBC you will get with OS itself, you will get an ODBC. Let us say I am using Windows 7 operating system I am using. That is released in the year 2007, but now it is 2015, right? There are a lot of enhancements that came into the database servers. So is it the right approach? No. Then which one is the best one? Type 3 is not preferred first. We will discuss the type 3 also. Generally, no way we use the type 3. So which one is preferred? The type 2 driver. Which one is the preferred one? Type 2 driver, that is the thin driver. The database servers, they will provide a separate API they will provide. Just you have to understand the API also. Okay. So hardly, how many databases are there in contact was? 2 databases. Either we use Oracle or SQL server or MySQL. That's it. Maximum of the people use MySQL or Oracle. But in the industry, the complete story is different. In the industry, the people use only SQL server. In the industry, a lot of people will use what? SQL server. Okay. So in MySQL, we don't have that much of features. SQL will have a lot of features. Okay. take Oracle and SQL Server, both are commercial. You have to purchase. For testing purpose, you can use anything else. But if you have a company in the sense they have to purchase, each and everything they have to purchase. Okay? So SQL Server is a preferred one in case of the industry. So that's why a lot of companies, people use SQL Server. Okay? Even you can communicate from Java as well as from .NET. Can we communicate with Oracle database from .NET application? Anyone knows .NET here? As per my experience, I don't know that. We cannot communicate with the other database servers like MySQL. So maximum, I also don't know, but maximum they use SQL Server for communicating. Even for not only for .NET, even for Java applications and PHP applications also, they prefer to communicate with the SQL Server because in MySQL you don't have that much features. If you are not using that much database concepts, you can go for MySQL. See, my operation is I want to store some 10 field source. What is the person name? What is the person name? Designation, all the things. For this one, you need to go for SQL Server. You can maintain the same data in MySQL. But if you are doing some more database operations, if you are doing, and if you want to provide more security options, at that time go for SQL Server or Oracle database. So people will prefer to go for SQL Server. Okay. So here, we'll see how to communicate with the database servers by using what? The theme driver. Okay. Just theoretically try to understand this JDBC, ODBC, bridge driver, theme driver, native driver, and we have one more driver called type 3 driver. Generally, nowhere we use that type 3 driver, but I will explain you what is a type 3 driver. So, in our class, which driver you use? Theme driver we use for communicating with the database service. Okay. Next. Steps to connect with, or steps to work with database. Steps to work with database using theme driver. Steps to work with database by using which driver? Oracle theme driver. Okay. So we need one database, right? We need one database in the machine or not? Yes. Okay. So I'm installing Oracle database. I'm installing because I'm familiar with Oracle. Okay. If you are already having MySQL in your systems, you can communicate it with the MySQL. Okay. So I'll show how to communicate, how to perform the crude operations with Oracle database from your Java code by using JDBC. If you are in your systems, if you are already having MySQL server, you can communicate with the MySQL. You need to install separately Oracle. Okay. So steps to work with database using what? The theme driver. The first step is get the connection for the database server. Get the connection for the database server. From your program, you had to write the logic to get the database server connection aggregate. Even if you want to perform any operations on a particular database server, first you will connect to the database, right? Connect. Scott Tiger. Case of Oracle. Next. MySQL, what is it? Root, I think. Connect. Root.
No.
Pass. Okay. So first, from your program, we are performing the operations from the program. Okay. So first, what is the first step you have to do? we had to get the connection for the database server. So one second, installing the database. So what is the first step? We had to get the connection. We had to get the connection. To get the connection, first we had to instantiate the driver class object. What is the first step? To get the connection. To get the connection. To get the connection. So first we had to get. First we had to get the driver object. We had to get. Or first we had to instantiate. చిన్న లైనే కదా మేడం, ఎవరో ఇట్లా అంటే చిన్న లైనే కదా కొట్టేసుకోండి. సో టు గెట్ ద కనెక్షన్ ఫస్ట్ వీ హ్యాడ్ టు ఇన్స్టాన్షియేట్ డ్రైవర్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్. To get the connection for the data. What is the first step? Get the connection for the database server. This is the first step. To get the connection, before going to get the connection, the first step is we had to instantiate the database driver object. We had to instantiate. Okay. So how to instantiate? Instance and object creation both are same, right? Correct? Instance or object both are same. Okay. One more name for the object is instance. Okay. So here, what is the first step? To get the connection, first we had to get an object. In place of object, I use a term called instantiate. To get the connection object, first we had to instantiate the driver object. You already completed core Java, right? So how you will instantiate one class, or how you will create one object per class? By using new operator, we will create an object. There are three ways to create an object. I already explained. By using class.funny, by using new operator, by using new operator you can create an object. The second thing is by using class.funny you can create. The third thing is easier. So here, class.funny we use dynamically to instantiate an object. Dynamically to instantiate an object, we use class.funny. Initially, I don't know class name was. Initially, I don't know class name. Dynamically, I specify I want to create an object for A class or B class. Dynamically, I specify for which class I want to create an object. At that time, we use class.funny. Before only if you know, then you can go for new operator. Dynamically, if you create an object, we use what? The class.funny. Okay. Shall we test? Shall we see how to create an object by using class.funny? The database is also in this job. Public class. Let's take class A. Okay. create a main method public static void main string of args. Or otherwise, do one thing. Just only create a method public void test is a method. What is the method name? Test is a method. This test method will create a constructor here, not a method. We'll create what? Meaning just I'm giving one sample for class.forName. You have to understand what is class.forName. Okay. So in this A, I'm creating one constructor. I'm creating public. What is the constructor? You have to specify. Same class name you have to specify. A. Okay. So I'm printing here from A. Let us take system.out.println. System.out.println of A. Just save this class. This test. Java. I'm saving the file with the name a.java. Okay. Just we'll save. We'll create one more class. We'll create. Save as b.java. So here also we have to specify the class name b. The constructor is also b, and this is from. Next, we'll create one more class. We'll create. The class name is test.java. What is the class name? Test is already available. Today test.java is the class name. Okay. So here public class today test. So here we'll create on main method. We'll create public static void main, public static void main, string of args, class.forName, class.forName. I'm giving here args of 0. Class.forName args of 0. What is the meaning of this? I will run the program first. So dynamically, I want to create an object. For example, I want to create an object for the A class. So in the command line arguments, I will specify A. I want to create an object for B class. So in the command line arguments, I will specify an object for B. So we'll test this one. But this method will throw you an exception called class not found exception. What is exception mean? Class not found exception. Because in the arguments, the command line arguments, you can give any string you can give, right? For example, in case of A or in case of B, I will give some other name. Mahesh I will give. You give left and right, where is Mahesh was. Correct or not? Where is that Mahesh class is available? To avoid that abnormal termination, this logic will give an exception called class not found exception. Put this logic in the try catch. So whatever the logic is giving an exception, put the logic in the try catch. So otherwise it will throw an exception. So try. So my confirmation, I'm printing a message. System.out.println or some exception is raised. So if you get any exception, this catch block is going to be called. This catch block is going to be called when you get an exception in the class.fun. Just save the class. So go to the command prompt. So first we have to compile a class. Java C a.java and Java C b.java and Java C today test.java. So here also there is no any exception in today test. We'll execute this one. Java. What is the class name? Today's test, I given A. So dynamically we are specifying for which class we want to create an object. There is no exception, right? There is no any exception. So 1 second. What is the output we got here? Java today test A. Dynamically I am specifying for which class I want to create an object. For example, here if you specify B, the output you will get what? So dynamically I am specifying for which class I want to create an object. So by using new operator, can you specify this? No, right? Dynamically you cannot specify for which class you want to create an object. So dynamically, if you want to specify for which class you want to create an object, specify that one in class.forName. So previously we given a constructor but when the constructor is going to be called, if we use new operator, for example, class A is equal to new A. New A means nothing but what? Internally we are calling the constructor. So but here by using class.forName, the constructor will not invoke. That's why I written one static block I written. If you write like this, then this is called as what? You know static methods and static variables. You can create static empty blocks also you can create like this. It's a static block. When this static से पकड़ के रास्ते में So are you clear what is the class dot for me? So are you clear what is the class dot for me? Yes. So here to get a database connection, what is the first step? The first step to get a database connection is we had to instantiate the driver object. We had to instantiate which API you are using. You are using Oracle API or SQL Server or MySQL. Which API you are using? That API will provide you one driver class, one thin driver class. It will provide you. You had to create an object for that thin driver class. So here, in case of Oracle, I'm writing some logic. So if you are using Oracle, I'll do one thing. I'll create one class. Let us take my class name is Adv test is a class name. What is the class name? Adv test. Karna Subbarao sir fans narendi. Come on, boss. Well, area. So what is the first thing? We had to get an object for what? We had to get an object for the driver class. Okay. So here we are communicating the Oracle driver, right? If you are communicating the Oracle driver, or Oracle, if you are communicating, the Oracle people will provide you one thin class. Okay, you had to identify that Oracle thin class. Okay, so here that thin class is nothing but if you install Oracle. Since I install Oracle in C drive, you will get one folder called Oracle. Is there any folder with Oracle? Oracle XC. So open this Oracle XC. In Oracle XC, app, Oracle, product, version, server. Here you will get one folder called JDBC. Here you will get a folder called what? JDBC. So open this JDBC library. So here you will find one jar file called ojdbc14.jar. To communicate with the Oracle database, I told you, right? Oracle people will provide you some API. Oracle people will provide you some API. If you take MySQL people also will provide you some APIs. You will find one jar file. I don't know the exact path where it is available. In your MySQL also you will find one jar file you will find to communicate with the MySQL. So here, this ojdbc14.jar, it contains some set of classes and interfaces which is used to communicate with the Oracle database. Okay. So I'm copying this jar file. So I want to extract this jar file. Can you extract this jar file? Come on, boss. It's not a RAR file. It is what? It is a jar. So here I want to extract the jar file. I want to extract. So first put this jar file. Copy the jar file in the C drive, the same folder. I want to rename that jar file. What is the jar file name? ojdbc14.jar. I want to rename this jar file. Rename ojdbc14.jar to ojdbc14.rar. Meaning I want to see what is this jar file contains. Okay. So now we rename that one to RAR file, right? It's a normal RAR file. You can extract this RAR file now. Extract this ojdbc14. So OJDBC, in OJDBC, I told you, right, it contains some set of classes and interfaces. Okay. So Oracle is a main package. In this Oracle dot JDBC dot driver dot. So here, meaning package, it's a package. Oracle dot JDBC dot driver dot. Here we have a class called Oracle driver. We have a class called what? Oracle driver. So if you want to get the connection for the Oracle database, first we have to instantiate this Oracle driver object. First we have to instantiate what? Oracle driver we have to instantiate. So can you tell me what is the path? Oracle dot driver dot here class dot for name Oracle dot JDBC dot driver dot Oracle driver. So here if you write this statement, so store the file name is dbtest.java. Okay. So here with this statement, first it will instantiate the driver object will instantiate. This is for Oracle driver. If you take MySQL driver class is different. If you take SQL server class is also different. So, but the first step you have to understand, we had to get the connection. To get that connection, we had to instantiate the driver object. We had to instantiate. So we got the Oracle driver object is instantiated. Next, what is our main first object? We had to get the connection. We had to get. So which one we had to get? We had to get a connection. To get the connection, so write driver manager dot. There is a class called driver manager. In this driver manager class, we have a method. We have a static method called get connection is the method. What is the method name? Get connection is a method. In this get connection method, of course, we are writing this logic in a static method. If you are calling this method driver manager dot get connection method in a non-static method, you will get an exception. A static context cannot be accessed in a non-static method. But here also we have the main method is also static method, right? We can access. So driver manager dot get connection. To get the connection to a particular database, we have to specify few properties. We have to specify. To get a connection to a particular database, we have to specify few properties. We have to specify. Okay. First, I'll write the statement. Then I'll explain you. JDBC colon Oracle colon in colon @ localhost. What is the statement? JDBC colon Oracle colon thing colon @ localhost 1521. Let's see. What is the username and what is the password? System is a username and the password is, I given a password for the database is manager. Discuss what is this JDBC Oracle thing. It's a protocol. What is this one? It's a protocol. This JDBC colon Oracle colon theme colon. This is a protocol, and you have to specify where this database is available. So up to this one, it's a protocol name works. JDBC colon theme is a protocol name. Second thing is you have to specify where this database is available. What is specified here? At localhost. At localhost means the database is available in the same service. For example, for this entire organization, let us say there is only one database server. We have a network connection. If you want to perform, you have IP address on that. And each and every service is going to run one port number. Each and every service, maybe it may be Oracle database, if you take any application, if you take, it is working on a particular port number. By default, this Oracle takes 1521. By default, you take what? 1521 is a port number. If you take MySQL, you take 3308. I remember, I think it's take 330. So like every application is running on one port. By default, this Oracle occupies what? 1521. Okay. The next one is a version. I am using Oracle Express Edition. I am using, so that's why I specified version is X. Because in the same system, you can install multiple database systems. You can install Oracle KNG or you can install Oracle KNG. We had to specify. You are communicating with version was and specify. So X is specified. Next, you communicate with the database. You have to specify what is the database username and what is the database password. With this statement, you will get a connection object. You will get what you will get. Connection object you will get. If everything is configured perfectly, you will get what? The connection object you will get. Meaning the same thing. In the SQL statement, the SQL command line will first statement will write what? If you want to perform any operations on the database box, reading the data, writing the data, if you want to perform any operations, what is the first statement you will get? Connect, username and password. Same thing we got here. I want to communicate with the SQL. I want to communicate with some database. I want to communicate. So now to communicate with the database, first you have to get the connection. Next, for example, I want to perform some operations. I want to perform, like I want to insert some data into the database. I want to delete some data into database. I want to update the data in the database. So if you want to perform these statements, if you want to perform, so here there are two types of SQL statements are there. Right? Have you remember? DDL, DML, DQL, data query languages. Okay. So leave over the data query, mean how to read the data from the database. How to read the data from the database. Except reading operation, there are other things are there, right? How to insert, and how to create, and how to delete. To perform these things, to perform these operations, next we have to create an object of a statement. So here, this is the first step. We have to instantiate the driver object. We have to instantiate the database. To get the connection for the database server, first we have to instantiate the driver object. We have to instantiate. The second thing is to perform some. Anyone is expert in commands or statements? Meaning that these three types of commands are there. DDL, DQL, DCL. DQL is also there. Data query language. Okay. So to perform DDL, DML, DCL. Reading comes under DD. To perform insert, update, delete, next, so and so operations. To perform these operations, so we have to create a statement object. To perform these operations, what? We had to create a statement object. We had to create which object? We had to create a statement object. So how to create a statement object? And how many types of statements are there? So in JDBC there are three types of statements called In JDBC, there are three types of statements. In JDBC, there are three types of statements. Three types of statements are: the first one is a statement, second thing is a prepared statement, prepared statement, and callable statement. The second step is to perform these operations, we had to create a statement object. But in JDBC we have three types of statements: a statement, prepared statement, and callable statement. You see, what is the differences between a statement, prepared statement, and callable statement? Next, so let's see the first one: how to get the statement object. If you want to get the statement object, statement st is equals to your connection object to dot create statement is a method. What is the method name? Connection object to dot create statement is a method. When we call create statement method, we will get the statement object. Statement st is equals to con dot create statement. We will get the statement object. Next, completed. చింతకాయల రవి సినిమాలో వెంకటేష్ గుర్తు వస్తున్నాడు. ఏం భార్గవ్? Statement st is equal to con dot create statement. So what is the next step? So execute the SQL statements. Execute the SQL statements using the statement object. Execute the SQL statements using which object? The statement object. Execute the SQL statements by using the statement object. So here we have two methods here. One is your statement object to dot execute update is a method. Execute update method, and execute, you can use execute update method you can use, or execute query method you can use, or execute method also you can use. Except reading operation, if you want to perform any other operations, we had to create an object for the statement. Because even for reading also we had to create a statement object only. Next, what is the next statement? Execute the SQL statements using the statement object. To execute the SQL statements, we are adding these three methods: execute update, execute query, and execute method. So we'll discuss what is the differences between the execute update method, execute query method, and execute method. So you can see the methods, right? You can see what are the methods and what is the return types of particular methods in a class. For example, I want to know what is the return type of this statement execute update, what is the return type of this execute query and execute methods. How to see the method description? What's your method? Statement class में naming methods में चुना लेना. How to see? So we'll see what this statement interface contains. Java P, Java dot SQL dot Java dot SQL dot statement. Java P only based. What are the methods I given? Three methods I given to execute the SQL statements. One is execute query. What is the return type of this execute query method? Result set. Next, execute update method. What is the next one?
Execute. Boolean execute.
Is Boolean execute. So here, this execute query method, which is used for reading the data. execute query method, which is used for what?
Reading
Create the
the
data. For example, if you want to create a table or insert the data into a table, if you want to perform these operations, we use either execute update method or execute method. Execute query method is only for what?
reading.
For reading the data. If you want to perform these operations, creating, inserting, updating these operations, you can use either execute update method or execute method. What is the return type of this execute update method? Integer. Meaning, if you use execute update method, it will tell you how many rows are affected in that query. If you use execute update method, how many rows are affected in that query. For example, I write one statement was delete star from employee where employee ID or where designation is equal to, for example, program. What is the query? Delete star from employee where designation is equal to program. What it will do? What this query will do? One of the records who is program. So, how many records are affected with this query to tell you? For example, it is deleted, record is deleted, records is deleted. This method will tell you how many records are affected with that query. Execute method, return statement is Boolean. If records are affected, just to tell you true or false, that's it. Not tell the count, not tell. This execute query method is only for reading the data. We'll see that part. So here, the table is not there, boss, in the database. What we'll do is, we'll create a table. We'll insert some data into the table from our program. Of course, you can create a table also from your program. But we'll do one thing. We'll create a table in SQL, and we'll insert the data into the table by using from our program. We'll insert the data. Create a table. For example, employee is a table. It's a number type. Table is created. Okay. So table is created. Now I want to insert that data into table from our. So open your Java code. So you got the connection object we got. What is the next statement? Have to get the statement object. We have to get. How to get the statement object? C is equals to dot create statement. So directly specify the SQL query here. So let us take. You want to insert dot create statement. That's it. You get the statement object you get. Next, what is the next one? I want to insert some data into the table. So here, specify the query in your program. SQL query is equal to how to insert the data into table. Insert into table name, employee space, values. Shall we use statically? Static data shall we put initially? 1, 2, 3. We had to use single quotes, right? First thing. What is the department ID? Let us take it. We had to close this. This is our table, and we had to close one more thing for. That's it. This is is our SQL file. This is our SQL file. So now we have to execute this SQL file. We have to execute it. st dot your statement object dot. What is the method name? Execute. Either you can use either execute update method you can use or execute method you can use. If you use execute update method, it will tell you how many rows are affected with this while. So specify SQL underscore while. What is the return type of this method? Int I is equal to st dot execute update method. Just for our confirmation, what we'll do is we'll print this I value. Will print system dot out dot println of this same. Okay, so our coding part is completed. System dot out dot println. We are printing the I value. So we'll tell you how many records are affected with that. Completed? సగం సగమే రాసేస్తున్నారా కంప్లీట్గా రాస్తున్నారా సగమే రాస్తున్నారా అంటే నెక్స్ట్ కట్ అయిపోయింది కదా So where all these classes are available, we are using some classes like the statement, connection. Where all these classes are available in one package. We had to import the package, right? Which package you had to import? Import Java dot SQL dot import Java C. What is the class name? EB test dot Java. So here it is given exception. Previous when we give you an exception call class we had to specify this jar file location to the compiler. This Oracle driver class is available in this jar file. Okay. So how to specify this class path? In your program, we had to specify set, not path. It's class path. Set class path is equals to the double quotes. Okay. After that, semicolon comma semicolon, which is used to keep remember the previous things. I don't want to remove the previous already in the system. Maybe some class path is already available. I don't want to remove that one. I don't want to remove the previous one. If we don't want to remove the previous one, just specify semicolon comma. Java C. Anyone is having solution? Generally, you will get exception. Some systems they will not access the C drive. That may be one restriction, but we don't have any other option because we cannot place another directory. We have only one directory here, C drive. Set class path is equals to JDBC. జనాలు తింటాను ఈ జనాలు తింటారు Eclipse ఉంది. Eclipse. జరిగినట్టు ఎట్లా
Wrong.
సరే ట్రై చేస్తాను. API statement. Problem is not in the code.
Features.
First mistake will be C drive because in some systems C drive will not access. This will be one of the reason. सर during past
Teachers.
soft skills like